Consider you'll be joining us soon. A band of vipers playing our tune. With an iron fist and reptiles, yes, we shall rule.
Hello, Cobra Officer 25 here, and I'm going to be interviewing a former Hasbro employee that worked in Hasbro's retail division and a former Toys R Us employee that is my friend. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody.
Alright, so I have some questions to ask you. So first question is, why does distribution suck for Hasbro?
Specifically for G.I. Joe?
G.I. Joe.
Well, I think it's a compound issue. I think that the main reason that it's been horrible, I know nobody likes to hear it, but the main reason it's been horrible is, I'm going to tell you, is the pandemic, COVID-19. There's other economic factors that play into that. Fuel prices, rising costs of transport. Just to do business in general now is just more expensive than it was before the pandemic.
But some can also say that Marvel Legends are, being shipped and stuff, so is there an answer for that?
Well, I think you have to look at what Hasbro's bread and butter is. Those brands are licensed brands, and I think that probably, not even probably, most definitely, those brands take precedence over a brand like G.I. Joe because they have requirements, licensing requirements. They have to get those figures out into the shelves, and so I think that's one of the reasons. I think another reason for the problems with G.I. Joe Classified is that I think they're learning, Hasbro's learning, and I think they're trying to hold product back in the warehouses of these retailers to do maybe more of a mass release at one time rather than stuff just kind of trickling out here and there.
Okay, so question number 2 is, will this line die soon?
G.I. Joe is a timeless brand, and I don't think in the near term you're going to see G.I. Joe fail. I think it has some strength still. I think it has some longevity. I think there's a lot of hardcore G.I. Joe fans of my generation, and even some younger than me, that will continue to support this brand in the near term, as long as Hasbro keeps releasing exciting products.
Okay, so I know this is a little bit off question. Do you think that YouTubers are the main reason why G.I. Joe sells or is influenced or people hear about or stuff like that?
No, I think YouTubers might have definitely some big channels out there, and I think there are people who have influence on people's buying patterns. But I think, again, I'll say it this way: I really believe G.I. Joe is if you speaking specifically on that, is a timeless brand that sells itself. If Hasbro puts out good product, I think it's going to sell. I think no matter how angry people get about delays and distribution issues, I think if you put out a good product, people are going to buy it. And it's that simple.
Okay, so my other question is, how do you think G.I. Joe can influence more kids? I mean, we have the video game out, but it wasn't that successful as it could have been. And, they only did, a crappy Snake Eyes movie. It really didn't do well, so how do you think that, G.I. Joe can influence more kids, it's another generation, to buy G.I. Joe?
Well, I think, speaking on the Snake Eyes movie, I think the timing of it was bad. I think it came out in the middle of a pandemic when people weren't exactly in a hurry to go out and sit crowded close together in a movie theater. So I think that really did them no favors. But your main question, I think, I think they need to have better media, a newer video game that's more interactive, more exciting. I think they need to have a new cartoon of some kind. You're going to engage a newer generation if you make exciting media content and you create more compelling products. You know, I love nostalgia, and I think a lot of the older generation loves the classic figures from, you know, the early and mid and even into the late 80s. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we need new characters, we need fresh ideas, and we need to grab people with more current things, especially a younger generation. But I think, you know, that was one of the things as a kid, when I was a kid, that made G.I. Joe exciting was what's coming next, what's new. You'd get a product catalog out of a vehicle, a new vehicle, and that was like, boom, oh, wow, look at all these cool things. And then you know, would try to find them.
So, you were saying that, you know, we need fresh ideas. Do you like the repaints?
As far as the sub teams that are coming out,
Like Tiger Force, Python Patrol. I don't know if you've seen that.
yeah, I guess Target's doing that. Absolutely. I think that to some degree, I'm not going to sit here and say that I like every offering. You know, I know they're doing a Blue Ninja pack or something as an Amazon exclusive. Um, you know, it's okay looking, but it doesn't do anything for me. It may for other folks. But as far as the Tiger Force and the Python Patrol repaints, I think that, you know, sub teams like that are cool. I think it's a way to flush out characters and for us to get more figures ultimately. So I'm totally a fan of it.
So, we were also saying that you're an ex-Toys R Us employee in the United States, of course. And plus an ex-Hasbro employee, regional manager, all stuff like that. Would you help some people if there's something in the back room?
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, when you're in the customer service industry, that's what you're supposed to do. If you're selling a company's product, or you know, you're out there to represent, you know, Hasbro, or you know, even when I worked for Toys R Us. So yeah, you should help your guests. Now, you know, there's cases where people can be rude or negative, and a lot of it depended on how people approached me, how they spoke. You know, how they asked me. I mean, if somebody's rude and aggressive and nasty, you're going to be less inclined to help them than somebody who's polite and respectful and asks you to help them. So, yeah, there was many a times that I encountered that.
Okay, so did you ever see like another employee do that to someone and you would actually help the guest?
Yeah, there were times where that's one of the things that was frustrating about working in retail, especially when I worked at Toys R Us. I would see that a lot, where we would have certain employees who just didn't want to be bothered, and they would somebody would ask them to go in the back room and look for something or a particular item, and they would just go in the back and walk around in circles or play in their cell phone, or you know. And I would ask them, why are you doing that? Well, I don't care, you know. And so there's always going to be people in the workforce that unfortunately are going to have that attitude. And, you know, it's not a good attitude to have, but, you know, unfortunately it happened.
Before we were talking about this, you know, before we started the interview, you were telling me a story about, like, when you were working, you know, with Hasbro or whatever, and you saw, like, this kid wanting the Star Wars figure with his grandma. Tell us about that story. I feel like that's a very interesting story.
Well, I won't elaborate on it too much. It's just I was in, you know, at the end of the day, when you work for a company like Hasbro, you have to understand you're there representing Hasbro. You're not there, you know, Target is the customer, Walmart is the customer. So you kind of have to be careful. But there was a Target employee that just flat out refused to help this guest. And you know, I seen the Target employee lie to the guest and say, no, you know, we don't have that. And you know, obviously this person didn't want to be bothered. So you know, I seen the young man was you know, visibly upset. So I decided to intervene and go in the back room and get the child, you know, the item the child wanted, you know, and help him out.
All right, I have one more question for you. What was the worst collector that you ever had to deal with all time?
What do you mean, professionally when I was at work or just in general?
In general.
I mean, that's a hard question. I mean, I've seen a lot of crazy things. People can get crazy when they want things. But I would say and I'm not going to say all Hot Wheels or die-cast collectors, but because some of them, are nice people, but I'd say some of the worst, nastiest experiences I had when I worked at Toys R Us specifically was with die-cast Hot Wheels collectors wanting to go through cases looking for treasure hunts or Johnny Lightnings and green and White Lightnings and looking for these chase cars. As I said, I had some people that would come in and were very polite, and I would help, and then you have other people who would just come and approach you just very negatively and be very negative, and I know you're hiding these in the back, and it's like go back there and get them, and it's like you're not going to get anywhere with that attitude, and those are the types of folks that you just tell, well, what you see on the shelf is what you get.
Yeah, I generally would think that too. So, thank you so much for allowing us to interview you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
If you have any questions for him, just put in the comments, and we'll do another video if we get enough questions. All right, bye. Make sure you like and subscribe, and tell us what you think in the comments.